High Level is a full CRM and marketing platform, and I've used some of the best in the SaaS industry. And we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, X. We've got Instagram and Twitch. I think I got them all. Welcome to Wednesday, Revenue Party people. We've got some hot topics tonight, so let's get right into it. Before we do, I want to tell you about Cherry Assistant. So if you are listening on podcast audio only, go to cherryassistant.com. Check them out. I've been working with them a couple years now, and they help me delegate. So basically, Reviting is powered by Cherry Assistant. Cherry Assistant is a VA placement company. So I reach out to Cherry Assistant, I tell them my needs, and they go find someone in the world with the languages that I need, which is English only, who can speak my language. They get it. And, it's a fraction of the cost of what we pay here in the US. So as a new business owner, only been around a few years now, this is how I've been able to scale, is by working with virtual assistants. We've got Layla here in the background, and she is a producer producing a live stream, but she also helps me on other marketing tasks as well. But there might be things that you're working on that you could delegate. Maybe bookkeeping, maybe your executive assistant type of work, maybe something entirely different. If you're watching on video, you can scan this QR code, or if you're listening, like I said, go to cherryassistant.com. If you do reach out to them, let them know that you heard about them through Wednesday for $250 off your first month. And I want to tell you about High Level. So High Level is an agency CRM and marketing automation platform that is $97 a month for 3 accounts. So I quit my job 3 years ago, and I was like, I'm going to do this. And I started with HubSpot, and I love HubSpot. It's great. I couldn't afford it. I wanted to scale. And so my solution I found was High Level. And now I've dug into it. I've made it my own. I've white labeled it. So now all of the Reviting clients also have their version. It's now app.reviting.com since we white label it. It's an agency platform. It's, I think closer to $500 a month, but we have over 15 accounts in there. And so we're able to, when we sign up clients, hand them a CRM to say, here you go, here are the leads we're bringing in. So we can actually hand them those, but then we also have all the tools like email, website, all the stuff that we can help them with. So maybe you don't need to work with us to get all that help, but maybe you're just looking for a simple and budget-friendly solution. And if that's true, just scan this QR code, or you can go to reviting.com/high level, and you can try out High Level on a 30-day special free trial with my affiliate link. And if you have any questions, I didn't bring my gavel. I see in the comments it's being asked. I'm going to grab that once I introduce the guests here. But we're going to court today, everyone. This is a themed show, and we've got 2 defendants, and I'm the judge. And yeah, I don't know if anyone saw that marketing, but this is court. And in my community this morning, I told everyone I'm going to court, and people are like, Is everything okay, Jessie? And then I sent him the thing that it was just a joke. But yeah, anyway, I digress. Thank you, Layla, in the background for your creativity on all of that. But we've got 10 of you streaming in here from like Facebook and YouTube. I don't know how many of you there are on YouTube. If you are here, let us know that you're here. Leave a comment. Tell us, where are you tuning in from? What do you do for a living? We're about to talk about sales and marketing. How is that relevant to you? This conversation is for you. So put your questions and your comments in the chat throughout the conversation, and we'll put them up on the screen, and you will join our conversation from the chat. So we want to hear from you. But without further ado, let's bring in our guests and get to know them. Welcome to the show. We've got Jacinta Devlin and Latif Hamilton. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thanks for having us on.
Absolutely. Well, let's get right into it. And in good old-fashioned Wednesday style, we want to hear your full life story from birth to what brought you to now in 2 minutes. What do you think, Latif? Can you kick us off?
You're going to make me do that in 2 minutes. Sure, I'll give it a try. All right. Well, my name is Latif Hamilton. I've been running SpiritHoods, which is a faux fur animal-inspired fashion brand for the last 15 years. And before that, I was an entrepreneur. I was studying Japanese and business as a kid, always been fascinated about really two things: health and really entrepreneurship. And so, lately I've been working on the Growth Operative, which is a consulting platform that sort of integrates a lot of the things that we learned through running a fashion brand into e-commerce and educating how to do a lot of things that people want to do and want to achieve for their e-commerce brand, from marketing tactics and strategies to operational and logistical things. So, I think that's it in a nutshell. I did it in 1 minute and 10 seconds. Does that?
That is incredible. Order in the court. Hey, we got AP coming in here from Florida. AP, how are things down in Florida? Let us know. And while you do, thank you, Latif, for sharing that a little bit about you. And wow, for keeping it concise. See, we do the 2 minutes because you ask people about themselves. Sometimes they'll talk for a long time.
No, I'm like, please. I don't want to talk about me. I don't want to talk about me,
Yes, I love that. But we also want to learn about Jacinta. Jacinta, could you please fill up the time and tell us from birth to what brought you to now, all about you?
For sure. Thanks, Jessie. And unlike Latif, I could talk for 50 minutes if we needed to. So I won't start from birth, but I will start. I think like a lot of us, my career, my very first job ever was in a pizza shop. And I think for almost everyone listening, you might have had a first job where you were in some sort of sales or marketing. You probably didn't even realize it. I didn't realize at the time in my very first job at a pizza shop that part of my job was going to be upselling and talking about the items and learning sales skills. So I think a lot of us probably have more sales and marketing skills than we even realized starting out even those first jobs. But I think that's where my career started. And then to jump forward, after college, I got involved in direct sales. And so I actually worked for multiple direct sales companies. I built up $1 million teams across the fashion and jewelry accessories sector. And it was a really cool, exciting time for me. And I had so many women that were coming to me all the time asking me, how are you selling this much? How did you grow a team this big? And I realized that I could help people in a lot of different industries and help women in a lot of different sectors. And so I started Devlin Consulting about 6 years ago. And so that's when I branched out and started helping women with my knowledge. I had created my own e-com store. I was selling clothes. I was selling jewelry. And I just was like, I have so much knowledge to share with others. And so 6 years ago, when I started doing that, I started helping women build all types of businesses. So I've worked with women building from scratch, just having an idea of a business that they want to launch. And I've helped women build businesses that were already doing $20 million in sales. And our goal was to take it to 25. So once upon a time, a small town girl with a job at a pizza shop who took that love of sales and marketing and really grew it into something.
I love that. And I love that you started with the pizza shop. And I'm in the chat talking about now how I worked in an ice cream shop called Whitey's Ice Cream. And they were actually on LinkedIn. I tagged them. I'm like, yes, I love that. What pizza shop did you work at? Was it like a local joint?
It was this local mom and pop like pizza shop, and they were a Greek couple, and they made the best baklava. And I think I got paid like $6.25 an hour, and that was enough money, you know, in high school to, you know, go do a little shopping, go tanning, and that was it.
Yes, I definitely remember those days. Tanning salon for sure. Yes, good memories. But those are good places to start, you know, your marketing and your sales experiences. I'm curious from the audience, where did you all begin your sales and marketing career? And how about you, Latif? What was your first job?
My first job was as a painter, actually, in college. I painted, yeah, and it was not the most fun, but it paid for college. It did, you know, it was, and also I waited tables at a restaurant.
Oh,
Was
yeah, that'll
something
teach you
niche.
some serious
Yeah,
skills.
yeah. But then honestly, after college, I just went straight into launching a company with a friend of mine. So I have not really had a corporate job or anything like that. So
Yeah,
I can never speak to those kinds of dynamics other than what I hear other people going through in the corporate world versus being an entrepreneur, you know?
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that experience. Okay. Well, let's get into our first topic. It's all about branding, and it's Jacinta's topic. Jacinta, could you kick us off on elevating your online brand for 2026?
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually just talking about this topic yesterday with a client, so it works perfectly. And we were talking about what's really different in 2026 when we're looking at how are we elevating our branding, what is actually moving the needle, what's actually getting people to pay attention. And across the board, we were just continually dialing back to storytelling. And I think we hear this a lot in marketing, but I think a lot of people are like, okay, what exactly is storytelling? How do I implement that into my business? How do I actually use that for myself? So with my client, we really talk about on social media, you can elevate your entire brand. You can get that buy-in. You can get people excited just by having them follow your journey and your story of maybe if you're just getting started. So if you're launching a business, and working with a bakery right now who's getting ready to launch. And so she's working on creating a lot of behind the scenes content all about here's everything that I need before I get baking. Here's a trip to the grocery store of what I get. Here's how I make the frosting. And I think it's less of this idea of just sell, sell, sell. Here's my product. Let me tell you 10 million, bullet points about it. And it's more about let me relate to you and humanize my product or service. I think especially being saturated in the AI world right now. And I think so many of us see things online and we don't even know if it's real, right? I think every day probably I'm scrolling and I'm like, is that AI? Is that real? Is it not? And so I think in this kind of new era that we're in with so much content and branding coming from AI, that people are really leaning back into that human element of it. And that comes with storytelling. Tell your story, have people follow you behind the wins, the bad, the good. And I think that's the number one thing that we're seeing take off in 2026. And the brands that are really nailing it and doing it well, they're blowing up on social because it's something that people can actually relate to. It's not this computer generated idea of, what they think we're going to relate to.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. I'm a branding person too. And that's why I'm all in on live stream, because I really feel strongly that live streaming isn't going anywhere because AI hasn't yet replaced this type of like unique human conversation. There's deep fakes. You can have like one person, but we're not only conversating, but if people are commenting in the chat, we can engage with that in real time. So in my head, we're already seeing live streaming change the economy on TikTok for B2C. And I think, what we're experiencing, what we're seeing here at Reviting is the same thing is happening for live streaming for B2B, just on LinkedIn. And it's not as much about pushing a product or service on the show. It's more so about building that thought leadership and that trust and having a long game, but also having a stage where you can invite those important people like your partners and potential customers to come and shine and get them to like feel important. But I digress. I could talk about personal branding from the live streaming angle all day. I'm curious, what's your take on personal branding?
Honestly, I think both you guys contributed some excellent points and real sharp strategy. I would say I like to bucket things into two distinct categories: educational content and creative content. As a fashion brand, you don't. It's there's an advantage when you're selling a product, and when you're a service, it's a little bit different. And so I think you can use all of the things you guys talked about for sure. I've always shied away from being front and center in the camera for my fashion brand, but I've been having to do that for the Growth Operative, and I like that. I come from the place or the angle of education, and I really want to teach and educate people. So that's easy. What Jacinta was talking about is working for me on that level. But on SpiritHoods, I took a different approach. We went with creativity in the form of entertainment. And I find that to be really powerful and a great way to connect to people that will build brand loyalty and make people coming back for more. The content you put out is what builds the community and what builds, people's interest in your brand. And so when you can be playful and connect and be authentic, and be, contributing to their well-being or to their growth, either educationally or entertainment, I find both of those methods work really well. And I do agree that there's a lot of opportunity to differentiate yourself by being more human, humanizing your world, so to speak, when we're sort of being drowned out with this sort of homogenization of AI. Everything is starting to sound the same. When you read articles, they all have the same situation going on. They're all broken out the same. And so I think your distinction or your ability to elevate yourself is to cut through that noise by being more human. And community building is another great tactic and strategy that I think has been historically undervalued. And right now, we're at a time where people crave it more than ever. They want to be connected to other people and not just digitally. So how can you do that? Is it experiences? Is it gatherings like this? Is where you're getting people together? Is it so there's a lot of ways to do that. But that's what I have been seeing is working really, really well the last few years, and seems to be inevitable that we'll have to continue that trajectory.
Absolutely. Jacinta, I want to let you respond to that first before I jump in.
I mean, I would totally agree. And I think the entertainment angle is the secondary that performs really well. So I think, he hit that right on the head. I think depending on, whether you are product-based or service-based, what Latif was saying about building a community. And I think we see that really, there's cult followings, especially in like the beauty community or in the film community. So if you can take something about your product or your service that really ties people together and create some type of community, maybe you're doing an in-person event, maybe you've got a Facebook group, maybe it's, a LinkedIn connection chat, whatever it might be, where you can start to build that community. On Instagram, we've got this great subscribe feature now where you can create an entire chat and people can, pay to subscribe or be part of it. And so I would completely agree that the entertainment part of it, as well as the community part of it, is so big.
Community. You said community, and that resonates with me because I run 2 communities there. WhatsApp communities. If anyone wants in, let me know. You can send me a DM. We've got Ali Abbas in here. I saw in his profile description, SEO. So I know we're getting to SEO later. That's why Ali Abbas, I was saying, let's talk about that. When we get to that, I hope you'll stay in the chat because we'd love to hear from you on that. And welcome, David. Thanks for tuning in. Let's go live. But I'm completely with you. And it's only going to get more and more important. Don't you think that, especially with Web3 and the future of the internet, we're going to be more tied to a wallet, to our personal identity than ever before. So it's going to be extremely important that you have a good reputation and that you're able to close the trust gap, because it's already really hard to be a marketer. Would you agree, Jacinta? People don't trust us.
For sure. I mean, and I think that trust, especially on online, is even harder. And like you're saying, the AI just throws confusion into the element. So I think now it's so much even harder to get through to people, because even myself, I've been on things before and people are like, this is AI. And I'm like, I'm a real person.
Yeah. Consistency definitely helps. Yeah. Being consistent. Ooh. Being consistent helps you, it makes it gives people an understanding of who you are and a repeat history of your existence, so it's harder for sure.
100%. Would love to hear from the audience on this. You all here in the chat, so obviously your personal brand matters to you. What are you all thinking about personal branding? How are you building your personal brand? We want to hear from you, but in the meantime, let's transition into our next topic. Sorry, Layla, I clicked on top of you here. How SEO and product strategy align. Yeah, Latif, could you kick us
Yeah.
off on this topic?
Sure. Yeah. I'll break it down real quick. Just SEO, search engine optimization. We now have GEO, which is generative engine optimization, where we're tailoring to AI's queries, right? But SEO is still extremely relevant, and I think that a lot of things can be lost when we're developing product or strategizing around what product categories we want to launch into the world. So as a creative, as a designer, when using this as an example, when we're designing products, right, we don't anymore just design products for the sake of, we know our community likes this kind of product or this colorway or these prints. Rather, what we do now is we integrate those things. So we look at what people are doing, and this might seem obvious to some people, but a lot of it gets lost in a lot of companies that we work with. And so the importance of being able to say, okay, what are people searching for? What are they looking for online? What are the products that I like to design? So let's just say you wanted to design dresses. Well, that's saturated. You're never going to be able to make an impact there. You're not going to be able to be found in just an organic search. And the reason that is so important is that it's foundational. You can't just rely on ads, right? You've got to do a multitude of things to really push your company forward. And so being able to be visible in search, both now with AI, but also just general search where people are trying to find you on the line, being able to niche and narrow down something like, okay, I want to make a dress or I want to launch a dress, product line, and that's too wide. So let's bring it down. Let's say we want to do animal print dresses. Oh, you know what? We're looking at searches and it's dominated by all these other big brands. So let's switch it. Let's do floral and animal print dresses. And you know what? There's searches there. There's some demand, but there's very little supply there. So we go niche, and then from there we build out. And so I think tying in your product development, how you name your products, how you strategize around what products you're going to make, what colorways work. When we design or drop a faux fur coat, are we going to do black, green, blue, yellow? We're not going to just do this because our customers are asking for it. We might, but we also need to service a brand new audience. And so that's the tie-in between your structural SEO and your creative endeavors when you're designing or building out your product line, because creativity has to rest within a framework. Artistry doesn't really have constraints. Artists design for the sake of designing, right? But creatives, we're there to make an impact in terms of revenue, drive revenue. We want to have great products in the world, and so these are the things that we kind of talk about when we look at SEO and product development and integrating those two things.
Yeah, I love that.
I think that ties into, I loved hearing that. And I saw someone say into the chat, so underrated to think about using that search. And I think even whether you have a current business or if you're just getting started, so many people, I think, skip that step of that comparative analysis, doing that market research. So many times I think entrepreneurs can get caught up in, here's what I want to sell, or here's a product I think is going to go viral, or it's going to be great. And a lot of people forget to come to the drawing board and, take the emotion out of it. Even though we might love the idea, is it something people are asking for? Is it something that will make sense in the marketplace? And I just think that ties into all areas. I loved hearing that.
Yeah. I saw a question. She was asking, it kind of went away real quick. Do you see that last one? I think it was Layla. Yeah, she said, do you test product ideas with small drops first or go straight into full launches? That really depends on how large of a company you are. So for my fashion brand, as an example, we do it so much that we know sort of how big the search volume needs to be in order for us to say, okay, this is a big enough niche for us to design into. We're gonna go ahead and do that. We're gonna build out 2 or 3 yellow faux fur coats because we just want to tackle that. We've already got black, we've already got gray, so it kind of depends on how big the company is. And if the company is smaller, you're gonna want to start smaller, right? So I think a lot of those just depend,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I saw a question earlier on YouTube. Someone was saying, what is the most basic actionable SEO advice. Yeah, the tip.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think there's two fundamentals. Can I take this, Jacinta? Is this okay? There's
Please.
two fundamentals. So the basics are that you have to do the general stuff you find on YouTube, like put your metadata in there, and there's some technical stuff that's really doable. Any person can do these things. Then you have your content strategy, and so I think you got to do basic metadata, basic, this is what telling Google what your website does. The fun part is when you're crafting for your brand or your company what keywords you want to target, and then building content strategies around that. So that we get into the fun part. But then there's another part that people miss and don't realize why they've done these things, but they're not getting traction. One of them is that it takes time. Google doesn't recognize a company in year one. But the other thing is that backlinks, right? So doing things like this live broadcast, actually, if you're posting it at the end of the day, and it's backlinking to the website. So if you're going on, you're doing interviews, you're doing written interviews, and you're writing articles for other websites, they're all linking back to your site, and they're giving you validity, right? And without that, you're going to have a very difficult time climbing the ladder if you've done the sort of foundational pieces. So I just want to mention that. And I think, again, the technical stuff can sound scary, but if you watch some YouTube videos, you're like, this isn't so hard. I can do that. And of course, to be real, SEO is there's a whole world there. I don't want to downplay it, but if you're just starting out, you can definitely start out.
SEO and GEO. It's like a whole
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else on this topic that either of you would want to add before we wrap up on it?
I just think the important part that hit for me, and I think a lot of people forget that Latif just mentioned, and he said it so quick in passing too, that it takes a year just for Google to start to recognize you. And I think that's a lot of thing that entrepreneurs and brands forget. They might hire someone to help them with their SEO, or they're like, getting frustrated about why they're not getting that traction. And I think he really kind of brought it home with that bare minimum of a year. I mean, think about how many things we get frustrated with and give up on within a couple days or a couple weeks, right? And so I think that's a big thing to point out too. It's part of playing the long game.
Yeah, well said. That is well said. And I also, strategy for what your picks are. If you, just as an example, if you're doing house robes, right? Is it appropriate to call that a house robe? Should you call your website houserobe.com? Well, not if all the big players, Zara and Nordstrom's and all, they're doing that. Now, you know what? Let's go for luxury robes. It's a niche market. Let's go to that. Let's call it that. So strategy around knowing where to position yourself in that world is really important if you want to make a dent and have some things happen. But the timeline is really accurate. You said it great. It is the long game. Yeah.
I think as marketers, we all get that, and we probably have all worked with clients that just expect
immediate results.
That's just not how marketing works in any.
It doesn't. And if you are after immediate results, you're going to get the same kind of customers that are fleeting and don't give you the loyalty that you're looking for, and they're not going to be the repeat customers. They're going to be the buyers that only buy when you buy at a discount, when you offer a discount, and then they're going to bounce. They're going to be like, you know what, I'm on to the next. So you don't want those people. So you don't want to go after those quick. We all want to grow fast. We always want to make this impact. You see these entrepreneurs that are becoming millionaires, and that is not really an accurate depiction of what it's like in the day-to-day and over the long term, right? It's just not accurate. So
yeah, 100%. Well, I just saw a cat walking behind you.
This is my little man. Every time I'm doing anything on the computer, he's like,
he said, "I'm the star."
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah.
That cat came around just in time for a really hot topic. We're going to be talking about building a professional brand that attracts clients. But we're going to be doing that right after these two brief messages, one from Cherry Assistant and one from us here at Reviting.
This is Mike, also known as Clean with Mike on Twitter. Mike hired a virtual assistant from Cherry Assistant about 2 years ago. Now he has a $50K per month business fully managed by a remote operator in South Africa. His VA from South Africa does the following: closing inbound leads on the phone, Yelp and Google and Facebook, manages his CRM on Go High Level, deals with rescheduling, cancellations, any issues, hires and manages the cleaners, and sends them daily reports and updates. Mike has a fully cash flowing business managed by a remote operator for only $8 an hour. You can also hire a US equivalent worker in the Philippines, South Africa, Latin America for a fraction of the cost with Cherry Assistant. Be like Mike and grow your business with offshore staff.
So right now we're showing a menu of services for those of you listening on audio only later on. And some of those include, but are not limited to, lead generation, CRM management, prospecting assistance, sales presentation preparation, data entry and cleanup, customer support, and project management assistance. So just scan that QR code or go to cherryassistant.com. Be sure to tell them that you heard about them through Wednesday for $250 off your first month. And we'll be right back again after this next message. At Reviting, we help B2B founders, executives, brands turn their live streaming into a real revenue channel. One live stream turns into a podcast. It turns into a social clip. It turns into email content like a newsletter and actual sales conversations. You get to have a lot of conversations with people when you have a podcast or a live stream like this. And if you want to be known, trusted, and remembered in your industry without being online 24/7, worrying about your posting, this is what we do. Just head on over to reviting.com and let's build your show.
I want to give a quick testimonial for the Reviting team and Jessie for some of the things that they've helped me do in my business and developing an online presence. So first of all, I was really nervous about doing lives. Everybody kept telling me, you got to do lives, you got to do lives. And I just couldn't get myself to do it. And so thanks to Jessie and her team, I've now been doing them for, I think, 7 or 8 months now. And I've gotten so much more comfortable and confident in doing them. The other thing is they very much have helped me increase my reach and online presence, especially on LinkedIn, but also on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. That was something that was kind of a surprise to me. So they also do some posts for me. And some of those posts have gotten the most attention compared to what I was doing before. And I've learned a lot from them. So thank you, Reviting and Jessie.
Jessie, I love what you and the team do. You make it so easy for me to get in, have a meaningful conversation with some amazing guests, and then watch the post-production that you and the team deliver that, helps me extend my reach. And as I said, I've been picking up 50 followers a day on LinkedIn as a byproduct of this, just because that content is resonating so well. And I've had a number of people reach out to me who want to be guests on the show. So it's working across a lot of different channels for me. And I can't thank you enough.
Gosh, I'm just so honored every time I see those testimonial videos. Just got to record another one today with Sarah Hanks of NWIRC. Can't wait to blend that into the mix as well. But that's enough on all that. Let's get back into topic 3, building a personal brand that attracts clients. Jacinta, can you kick us off?
Sure. I think, this ties into what I was saying earlier too, with that storytelling part of it. And I think what we've been talking about, all day today too, with that trust factor, which is so important, building that trust factor. And I thought it was interesting too, right? Latif was like, hey, we're building a fashion brand, for that company. I'm not the face of that. And there might be some entrepreneurs and some founders who hear that message, and that's exactly how they feel. They're like, I don't want to be the face of this. And I think sometimes people forget that you don't have to necessarily be the exact face of the brand, but there's got to be some face of the brand, right? There's got to be some element that can tell a story. And maybe it's not even a person, maybe it's the story of the product. If you have a product-based business and it's the story behind why was this product created? Why does it exist? Why is it going to be meaningful or helpful to people? And so I think there's, multiple different ways that you can do it, but building a personal brand, if you're an entrepreneur really in any industry, is always going to help you. It's always going to push you further. It's always going to put more eyes on your service or your product, whatever whatever it might be. And again, if you have that product-based business and you're like, I don't want the face of my business to be, me, it doesn't have to be. That face of the business, you could be somebody who always is highlighting your customers, right? You could be somebody who's, again, telling that story about that product. So it's not just about, me, I have to be the personal brand, but it's about how can you tie branding into the story of your service or your product, so that way it connects with people and it makes people interested. That's kind of what we have to do, right? We've got to pique people's curiosity. And what's more interesting than the behind the scenes, the storytelling behind something.
Yes, I love that. It's so true. And yeah. I'll hold my comment. I want to hear what you and your cat have to say.
Yeah, I know. He's like, can we get some love? Why are we doing this podcast right now?
It's bedtime. Like, what's happening?
The mic is right here too. If he had a voice, he'd be like, you'd be able to hear him. But no, I love what you said. I think trust is phenomenal. I've got two things I'll relay in terms of my experience. I think integrity and transparency are really valuable, and that is things that the digital landscape of AI and these things just don't always have, And so I think when it comes to, at least from a product standpoint, if you're attracting customers as opposed to, clients, I would say, I've got a story. So when we were running a Black Friday discount, we had one of our product categories, we didn't discount enough, and we needed to up that discount. And we had a reasonable amount of customers already purchased. So we were faced with a choice. Do we just, increase the discount and not say anything? Or do we let our customers know and refund them the money? And we chose to let our customers know and refund them the money and raise the discount amount and let the sale continue on. What happened as a byproduct of just doing the right thing in a world where so many brands, especially big companies, would never do that, was that we had so much more loyalty coming through. We had so many comments and people saying, "Oh my God, this is why I love your brand." It was endless. And I was surprised that was the response. That was just, for me, I like to be in integrity. I'm a big fan of Martha Beck. If you don't know, check out her book, her work. But that kind of interaction, how would you treat your friends? You know what I mean? So I think it's really important to do that on the commerce side. And, I think in terms of transparency, or looking at it from a client side, how are you billing these people? How are you creating transparency so they can understand what you do? Because it is really hard to translate, what it is that you're doing and the worth and the experience of your history. That can be very difficult. So just thinking about how you can be more in integrity and more transparent with things, I think goes a long way. This man just won't give it a rest.
But you know what? That cat appeals to people's emotions, and that's what we need to be doing.
Yes, that's true.
We're going to need this
marketing 101. Generate emotions. Yeah,
Yes,
he is. He's my little snow leopard. Yeah.
So cute. Yeah, no, I think I'm totally with you there. I think that's all really important stuff. What would you say on all that, Jacinta?
Absolutely. And I think that ties into what you said, Latif. Like, so many brands, I think, unfortunately now don't maybe do the right thing. And I think that is part of where that distrust has come from. I think sometimes people, are anti, corporation, anti the big company. And like we talked about in the beginning, people can see through what used to be those slick marketing tactics. And so I think when you're really honest with your customers and you build trust with your customers and you do the right thing for your customers, that's going to take you even further, and that also makes me think a lot about, cause marketing. And I think cause marketing is a big way that brands, whether they're little or big, can win. Is there a cause or a philanthropy or something that your brand is really tied into, that your product can connect with, a way that you can not only build trust, but show that you have a real, foothold in the community. You care about how your brand or your company gives back. You care about the people who are purchasing your product or your service and how it fits into their everyday life. And so I think, that trust factor again keeps coming around, and how can we as, marketers and as business owners position ourselves in a place of trust. I think it's all these things we talked about, right? Building community, doing the right thing, and having transparency. I think, a lot of people are simply kind of sick of the BS, right? They can see through when they're getting sold to, and instead they want to know, what is it that's actually going to be the benefit, whether it's for me or the earth or community. I think that all ties in together, right? It's this ever evolving wheel that's always spinning, and all of these things are spindles on it that all make it keep going around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really
absolutely. If I can add, I mean, SpiritHoods, we've been doing this for 16 years, and we give 10% of net profits back to endangered animals. And so I get to work with Snow Leopard Conservancy, vets. I get to work with Panthera. I mean, we've got tons. We've won the PETA Libby Award multiple times. So I think that is another part of integrity, Jacinta, what you're saying about trust and building things and doing things that are good is an important part of building a solid business, and then also letting people know that that's what you do. That's the marketing effort behind that. I don't think people should be marketing first that kind of concept unless it's a core pillar of how you built your brand or what you're starting a brand on. So if that is a case, that does of course reinforce trust and integrity in your potential clients or your customers. So yeah,
100%. And earlier you had mentioned something that sort of resonated, Jacinta. You were talking of, and both of you kind of mentioned, I guess too, just even now again, is like, you're not out there bragging, and I think another way to think of it, if you feel boastful, is like, you're not bragging, you're documenting. And like, people are not annoyed by your posts. They're taking notes. They're watching you. Because, helping people on LinkedIn, I hear the same thing all the time, is it's one of our biggest objections is just people's own imposter syndrome with going live on LinkedIn, posting on LinkedIn. But people are inspired by you when you do it. And even if they don't tell you, especially when they don't tell you, they're watching you. You've got lurkers. And, once you start getting active, the reason it can feel a little, we'll say, like lonely, is because you're the only one doing it and you're standing out in a crowd. And so you're going to start to understand things and see things in a way that people don't see them because you're starting to get active and consistent. But like, I guess that's my pep talk to anyone who's, hesitant to get started with posting on any platform, because this is super important and it's not going anywhere. But I don't know, would either of you share anything else to anyone about building a personal brand, and especially business owners who need to start putting themselves out there?
Brag on yourself. when people brag on yourself, brag on your company, brag on your product. If you're not proud of it, who's going to be? Right? You have to be that first person. I think so many times as entrepreneurs and as business owners, especially when you're first launching, if you're not excited about your product, you're not going to be able to get other people excited about it. All of the ads in the world aren't going to make a difference if you don't believe in what you're doing. And so I think so often, and I work with female entrepreneurs, and I think for women even more so, this idea of, I don't want to brag on myself. I don't want to be boastful. I don't want to be, sharing my accomplishments, and I don't want other people to think that I'm bragging. Brag, let people know. The more that you talk about your business, the more that you talk about your product, the more that you talk about your offering, the more people are going to find out. And I think that's the truth behind, marketing. We're trying to get the message out to as many people as possible. And if you're not excited and proud to talk about your business and talk about your product, then you can't expect other people to be. So my advice would be, brag on yourself, share every win, share the fails, share what's working. Even someone like, Latif, he was talking about the yellow, faux fur, jacket. There's probably a million other colorways that they went through that they decided to, not go with. that's even a bragging point. Oh, after, research, we found that, 78% of women did not have a yellow jacket and they wanted that. And so we created something just for women that wanted this because we knew it was going to, look beautiful on them or whatever it might be. So I think brag on yourself, brag on your products, brag on your business and on your company. If you're not going to do it, who is going to do it?
That's right. Be boastful. Like,
yeah. Passion just exuding. Just tell them everything about how great you are.
Exactly. Who cares
People
about
don't know what they don't know, right?
Yeah,
you gotta tell them.
Yeah, I hear you. I think I think it's helpful to come from the mindset of how am I helping these people? How am I helping these people? And that makes it easier to do what Jacinta's saying, right? Like if you're trying to push yourself out into the world, it becomes much easier when you're serving something greater than yourself. And I think we're all doing that in so many different ways and so many varieties of companies. How am I helping the world by being a clothing designer for my own fashion brand? Yes, in a very specific way. And that's what I focus on when I'm doing those things, right? So I think we all can find that as a source of motivation to push us ourselves out into the TV live sphere and all the other things where we have to do and that are challenging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 100%.
I want to just really quick off of what Latif said, right? Because he said, I'm a clothing designer. How is that really helping people? And I have so many women that I work with that say, oh, I sell jewelry or I sell makeup or like, how is this really life changing? But it's like, it's so much deeper than you realize. And I think when you remove yourself out of it, I think it's the self part of it where we're nervous about being judged, about being too much, about being annoying, about what people might think of us. And we're too much into the self part of it. And I love what Latif said. It's that servant leader. It's that servant company. It's what do we do, right? Maybe it's a piece of jewelry. And, I'll have clients say like, oh, how is this going to change the world? Is it going to change the world? Maybe not. But is it going to maybe help a new mom who hasn't left the house for 2 months and she just got this beautiful necklace and she's excited to go out and wear it and she goes and gets a compliment and maybe that's the first time she's been complimented since she's given birth,
that
right?
Is absolutely correct. Yes, 100%.
So much deeper.
That's how it works.
How does your product help people? For sure.
Yeah.
I think
that's
you
get that extra motivation when somebody comes or writes to you and says, that necklace, this story happened and it made me so happy, or that necklace was I bought or my husband bought it for me and he passed or whatever. And so the things they're creating, they always can be imbued with meaning, but especially when you create that intentionally too, and then it becomes both ends are there, and that can support exactly what you're saying, which is to put yourself out there. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, totally. We could keep talking about personal branding and I don't know, just encouraging people to get active out there all day. And I love that story too, because the compliments, they're always the best testimonials are those ones that aren't as direct. You feel something like the story of the mom and the necklace. But anyway, I digress. Let's get into our topic for creative marketing without discounts.
Yes. Yeah. That was me. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I think we can fall to the trap of, hey, everyone around me is discounting. I just wrote an article on Temu and Shein and Alibaba and how part of the reason that they're able to get such low prices is because they are price arbitraging the United States with subsidies from the Chinese government. So they basically just are paying less money for their cost of goods. So when you look around, you want to be careful because comparisons can be really dangerous. They can be helpful and they can also be dangerous if you're going to mock those situations. If you want to have a brand, and this goes for service-based or an e-com business, right? You want to be mindful of how you're discounting. And I love the brush is just cleaning himself. I don't know what to tell y'all. I'm sorry. I put him down and he jumps back up. So, but the thing is that, when you're talking about making it so that you're not reliant on discounts, to move your product. It goes along with all the things we've talked about. And there's also some specific strategies, which are, content is obviously king. Being a brand worth checking out just for the sake of, I want to know what they say, or they make me laugh, or I want to get educated. So people are constantly sort of aware of what you're doing is one of the primary ways, especially I would imagine if you're serving clients. And if you've got an e-com brand, what we've done is we've taken the limited edition model and the collector edition model, which started out as almost accidental, 15 years ago. And we realized how powerful it was. And we started to really work into that, building really unique products with very limited runs. And we would launch them and release them. And we would see crazy things happen. Like, a product that was sold for $100 would be on a secondary market like eBay for $2,000, So I think that there's a lot of opportunity to do things creatively and not just be like, okay, I think there's a little bit of an anxiety around, I've got to meet these revenue numbers. I've got to meet these, I've got to do this. I got to pay bills, whatever it is. If you don't honor that anxious voice and you stay true to what, is really more powerful and more long-term thinking, it will benefit you greatly. And so, if you can provide content that is creative, that is unique, that is educational, consistently being of value, that raises the value of your total company and what people are willing to pay for it. If you collaborate and you've got other artists that are by proxy, you're having other people that are very unique, and that these people have an affinity for, or they love that artist and you're collaborating with them, that also builds value. And so there's a lot of ways in which you can tap into the world around you, and keep your prices, with reasonable margins. When you get into the discount trap, you start ruining, elements for yourself. You start making it a situation where people always expect it. And that can be really, really complicated and challenging over the long run, because your costs are always increasing, everything's dynamic, and it can just inhibit what you can do for the world around you when you start to fall prey to that thinking.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah, I think so many, whether you're service-based or product-based, I think so many companies do lean first into discounts, right? And I think of someone like, first thing that comes to mind for me is like Bed Bath & Beyond. They were on a 20% discount my entire life. The entire time I've ever heard of Bed Bath & Beyond, they were a 20% discount, right? And so we've seen in the marketplace how that strategy can backfire and kind of cheapen and devalue your products. When we're talking about how can we creatively market a product without using discounts, a couple things come to my mind, right? First is build value. And you have to really start, I think what we talked about too, even with SEO and doing your research in the beginning, I think you have to start with building value by first knowing what your customers want and how this product will actually be valuable to their lives. And I think when you market it and you talk about it from that standpoint and build value in for the customer, I remember when, RoboVac came out and I was like, great, I want one of those. And then all of a sudden they had a RoboVac that could also vacuum and wash the floor. I was like, great, I need that, because they were like, now you don't have to do any of it. And that was value-based for me, right? I didn't need a discount because they built the value for me. I wanted that product. I think another creative marketing tactic that I love that has nothing to do with discounts is an experience. So is everybody who shops during, Black Friday going to be entered to win a special dinner at this, local restaurant, or going to this ski event? Or I live in South Florida. There's tons of events down here where you can, get an exclusive invitation of going to the event by entering or purchasing a product, right? And so there's that experiential element to it. I loved what Latif was saying about doing drops, right? Some of these brands that are just doing a very exclusive drop of a certain category every 2 or 3 months or whatever it is, and they're selling out every drop because it's that scarcity. They've built value. You can't get it all of the time. Another thing that I love for creative marketing, not using discounts, is a reward system, right? Like, do you have set up some type of reward system where people are earning points or earning rewards that eventually can turn into something? Maybe it's a discount, maybe it's a free product, but they're not getting that big discount rate up front. So I think there's a lot of ways that you can be really creative in your marketing, and you don't just have to step first into, okay, we need to have a sale.
Mm-hmm. Oh, So much to unpack there. Love all of
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And if I can also I just want to say, like, agreed. And I think, you're going to discount, you're going to discount because people, sometimes that's just what you got to do. But it's more of a question of balancing that and making sure that you're not doing excessive discounting, that when you do discount, it's small. It's not 25, 35, 45, 55% off. It's 15, 20% off, right? Depending on what your industry is and what's going on. But just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean you have to do it. Are you going to get less sales? Yes. But we go back into that same concept of, are people only buying at a discount? Or are they only concerned and only following you and only loyal if you're running at 40% off, which would mean they're not loyal. But so I think these things are great balances. And then, Black Fridays come along and people are doing specials and things like that. Play into that, but don't do it all the time. Don't make it a constant thing, because there's so many other ways to creatively create value. Creatively create value.
Creatively create value. Oh, yes. Oh, I love all that. And I think what I'm hearing across all of this is that brands that win, they don't compete on price. They compete on perceived transformation. Yeah, that's it.
Yes, that's it.
It's about value. And, when you think about that RoboVac example, I really liked that because, it's not just, the RoboVac wasn't really about cleaning. It was about reclaiming your time. And so it's a value that is really about, it's value. It's not features. It's, it's identity and lifestyle. So, yeah, I don't know. Or is it? I don't know. So is it value really about features, or is it about identity and lifestyle?
It's all the above. It's many things. It's you're generally selling a lifestyle a lot of times, no matter what it is you're doing on some level. And so, yeah, it's about all those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Well, have we covered all of our topics? I think this was our last one. Whew, just making sure, because we still have the Guru of the Week. Ooh, should we play that quick segment video, Layla? The Guru of the Week. Ooh, ooh. The Guru of the Week. Ooh, ooh. We got a new Guru of the Week segment video. I will hope to debut that next week. But we want to hear about the two people you both were telling us pre-show that you think everyone should go follow. So we'll put them up on screen if we found their pictures. And could you tell us why we should go find these people and follow them?
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll start with NQ. He's an amazing poet, gifted artist on so many levels. He's won so many different kinds of awards. And what I love about what he's doing is he's been teaching people how to use poetry as a form of medicine and just connecting with themselves, and creativity as stimulating the right hemisphere of your brain does so many things for the entire world. And it might sound like a stretch, but what I'm saying is we spend too much time in our analytical, constantly thinking, anxiety-inducing brain. And the right side is non-linear. It's very creative. And when we tap into that, all the magic happens. The success in your business is even predicated on how much time you are tapping into the right hemisphere of your brain and becoming creative. So, I think something we don't think about often enough is how much time we're spending at work or during the working day, activating that part of ourselves. And when we do that, that is when the magic happens. That's when Einstein's, his brilliant ideas came not when he was grinding. They came in a moment of creativity and presence and silence. And so, we want to do things to activate that part of the brain. And NQ does such a great job getting you to do that and to connect with yourself in ways that you wouldn't otherwise. And so I think for everyone, it is just great medicine to follow him and be inspired by poetry and practice it.
Latif, that was so nice. I feel like yours it works perfect. We have the yin and the yang here because I feel like yours has that spiritual side of it. Mine is Christine. She's actually a friend of mine and an entrepreneur here in South Florida. And I thought She was great to share as the guru of the week, especially with everything that we're talking about today with community and events and experiences, whether you're a product or service-based business, because that's exactly what she does. She helps brands create experiential events and connect with community. And so she is someone that has just helped so many businesses. And she is just one of those people that's just a really great connector. You know, we all have those people in our lives and they know everybody. Everyone wants to hang out with them. They're the cool kid. They're great at connecting everybody. And she does that really high level for business owners. And so I would highly recommend giving her a follow. I think we linked her on Instagram, and she's someone that could help you, whether you're a service or, you know, business product based. You know, she does all of that good stuff for creating those amazing experiences for brands and entrepreneurs.
Amazing. Well, they both sound like really great people to go follow. So everyone should go find them and follow them. Expand your horizons, meet some new people. I know NQ isn't on LinkedIn, but the other person we can tag in the comments likely. So others can go follow her, spam her in the comments here by tagging her. But anyway, this has been an excellent episode. But before we go, we just want to ask a little bit more about you. Could you both please let us know a little bit more about you in terms of like who you are, who it is you serve, how you serve them, and if they could be served by you, how do they reach you? Could you kick us off, Jacinta?
Sure, of course. So I own Devlin Consulting, and I serve female entrepreneurs really in two different stages of their business. So we work with women who want to start their own business, who have maybe been in the corporate world or maybe been in sales or whatever it is, and they just know that there's something that they want to create that's theirs and they want to step into that entrepreneurial journey. So we help female entrepreneurs from A to Z in that regards. We help women with a full launch program from their branding, their logo, their mission, their email, their sales funnel, their social media strategy. Our team does that all and takes them right through their launch. And then the other category of female entrepreneurs that we work with are women who already have a business. And a lot of times these are women coming to us and maybe they've got a bottleneck somewhere. Maybe they're struggling with lead generation. Maybe they're struggling with social media strategy. Maybe they're struggling with converting those. Maybe they're getting lots of leads, but they're just not converting. And so we really work as a consultancy and dig into those current businesses and figure out what can we do to help them. And it might be some of the services that I talked about. Maybe we need to re-optimize their website or their sales funnel. Maybe we need to implement more community building around their customers or loyalty. So it's very custom what we do, and it's very consultative. So I think that's one of the things that really helps us stand out is we truly, don't have a one size fits all package. We dig into, your exact business and help you figure out what you need to hit your goals. And so I'm sure you guys are going to share all that great information. You can find out more at jacintadevlin.com. You can book a call with me and my team for a consultation. So if you're looking to start a business or you have a current business that you want help growing, we'd love to connect with you and see if working together is something that might be a great fit.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, I'm sure there are people here listening who could probably use your help. So be sure to reach out to Jacinta. And same for you, Latif. Could you tell us a little bit more about you, who it is you serve, how you serve them, and if they could be served by you, how do they reach you?
Yeah, so I actually have two companies. I have a fashion brand called SpiritHoods, as we've been talking about. So if you like quirky, kitschy fashion that has a focus on animal prints and is a bit wild, then go check that out. I also have a consultancy, so where we do a lot of work with brands on everything from A to Z, but more in the sense that we focus on product-based e-com businesses that are, doing already up and running. We can do some coaching for certain clients that are brand new or looking to launch something, but that's really case by case. Otherwise, we focus on product-based businesses. We help them grow. We do a lot of work on SEO, product development, creativity. We even have operations and logistics capabilities because we have a 6,000 square foot warehouse. And so we have a variety of specialties that we can sort of deploy and a team from production management, both domestic and international, to you name it. We kind of have a little army of people that are really friendly and really, just have a lot of history in the space or the field that they're in. So, and then if you enjoy maybe some of how I think, you can follow my Substack. It's just substack.com/@LatifHamilton. Or wherever else, you put up, they can follow me there.
So inspiring. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come out on Reviting and speak with us here. This has been an amazing episode. So thank you both so much.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having us on. It was great.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you, Jessie. Thanks, Latif. It was so great talking with you both.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I will see you both backstage here in just a second. We'll close out with our video, but we hope everyone has a good night. We'll see you all next week.